to serene. Together we rise like stems in the rain. Through love and care we break every chain. Empowering minds, transforming lives. Every sunrise, a chance to thrive. Let your spirit grow. Welcome to the Gardner Show. Okay, good morning. It's 5 minutes past 6, and online on call, I can see 4 people. I can see Henry. Good morning, Henry. How are you there? Yes, there's Henry. There's a number that has no name. You're also welcome. Okay, so remember, it's our morning daily call, 6 a.m. I chose this because if you've just tuned in for the first time, I chose this because I thought it was very important for us to start our day energized, full of vigor, and ready to face the life challenges as they come during the day. So it's a platform where I have just a few minutes to talk about one thing, and I have the rest of the people to come in to contribute, to add on, to ask questions. It's an interactive, discussion here. So today I thought we'll talk about one profound thing that many of us have been told, and we go out to tell our kids or tell our friends, and this is what we call discipline. I don't know if you've been talked or told about discipline and what is discipline. When you tell somebody, hey, you need to be disciplined, or if you tell yourself that I want to be disciplined to do this and this, what exactly does it mean, and how can we push it into our lives so that it can help us manifest those things that we desire to have in life? So when we talk about discipline, especially self discipline, to understand something, we need to first understand the root word of that thing. And here, when we talk about discipline, we need to first go back and understand what is self discipline, or what is discipline, before we add the self. When you look up the word discipline, it comes from a Latin word, which is disputus. Disputus. Disputus simply means pupils or learners. So when you are a disciple, where we get it in the English, you are somebody who has come to learn. You are looking for training, and that training can come through instructions so that you are able to attain control, to attain order, and to attain the skill. So, in short, self-discipline is a student, a learner, or a pupil that is willing to learn, willing to undergo a training, willing to listen to instructions so that they can attain control, order, and skills. So when we add the word self, we shift the focus inward. It becomes training yourself to act with purpose, even when no one is watching. Self simply means to train yourself to act with purpose, even when no one is watching. Stay with me and you understand a little bit difference. Now, to understand the root of the word, self-discipline simply means the practice of training your own mind and behavior to stay aligned with your values, to stay aligned with your goals. And this can happen through awareness, it can happen through understanding, and it can happen through deliberate effort towards that you want to attain in life. So, in a nutshell, when we talk about self discipline, we're simply talking about the ability for you to train your mind and behavior to stay aligned with your goals, with your values, with the things you want to attain in life. Matter of fact, for it to be accurate, you need first to understand, and then you need to know that discipline does not entail suppression. Because when you suppress something, you are creating inner conflict. And whenever there is inner conflict, there arises a state of punishment, a state of restriction, or a state of being hard onto yourself, as many of us have seen. But it's also equally important for us to differentiate self discipline from rules. Because I've had so many people say that for you to be self disciplined, you need to follow rules or you need to have that willpower within. But that's to the contrary, because every time you think you are following rules, you are creating external control because rules are external. Remember, we have said internal behaviors. So rules are external. And whenever they're external rules, they hinder inner growth because there is conflict between what you want to do as you and what the society or the community or the external rules want you to do as them. So there's always conflict that emerges between your desires and what the community and what the other society expects of you. And whenever there is conflict, you'll only comply because you're being watched. We have had this in our offices or in our workplaces. We become so disciplined at work because there are cameras everywhere. But if we remove the cameras, would you act the way you act? I don't know. Now, the second thing is that we become rebellious when control is removed. And this simply means that every time there is an external rule or external following or external control, it creates compliance, it creates also rebellious within. Then other people think that actually self-discipline is about willpower. They think willpower alone is enough, but we very well know that willpower alone is exhaustive or is exhausting. You know, it's more or less of you pulling a muscle. You pull it, but it will get tired and it will burn out. And this is what creates internal guilt every time we fail. Why? Because there is that willpower that is coming from without. So awareness and understanding gives us the freedom to align ourselves internally onto that of which we want to do in life. But there are three fundamental concepts that help us to understand self-discipline. So the first concept is the inner compass. Every one of us, we are, I think, 8.0 billion people living on this planet today. But we are told that every one of us has an inner compass. And when we know a compass always moves towards its intended goals, its intended destination. And these may be your values, your beliefs, the things you want to attain in life. And now self discipline comes in to always help you recenter the compass towards that thing that you desire to do and have every single day. It's not just programmed for an event to say, okay, I'll retool when maybe it comes to Apple. No, it is every single day aligning yourself towards that of which you desire to do, be, and have in life. And this starts with that inner compass, which is more or less of the sense of direction. But we know every time you set a goal, every time you set a vision, every time you set an objective, we have obstacles, we have distractions, we have temptations. And temptations are more or less of a magnet. They always pull you back or pull you away from that thing that you desire to do, be, and have. Now, the power you have through discipline is to recenter. Recentering simply means your daily practices. It's not about perfection, no. It's about your daily practices that you align yourself towards that of which you desire to do, be, and have. And you cannot have the things you desire to do, be, and have unless you have awareness. And with awareness, you have control of the things, internal control, not external, because the power we have is not to control the things around us, it is to control ourselves. Viktor Frankl wrote a very interesting book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he talks about the power. He says there is a big difference between stimuli and response. But in your response lies the power not to change circumstances, but to change who you are. I repeat, there is a big difference between stimuli and response. But in your response lies the power not to change circumstances, but to change who you are. This is what happened. COVID hit us. We didn't have the power to change COVID, but we had the power to change who we are. We had the power to recenter our campus to us, so that if you change who you are, definitely you'll change what is happening outside of you. So control comes from within. And whenever you have awareness without judgment, you create control. And when you have control comes understanding. And it's out of understanding that we create order within and or without, because order is a reflection of your understanding and control that happens without judgment, that is produced by awareness. And when we have this in play, then we have right actions that will take us back to our true north. Our true north is what we desire to do behave in life. So when there is order that is not imposed from without but from within, then we are free. That's where we believe that, yeah, we have the freedom to change not what is happening outside of us, but what is happening within us. And when we change what is happening within us, definitely we change what is happening outside of us. So the biggest question for the morning today is to ask ourselves, how can we promote self-discipline after knowing that whenever you set a goal or an objective or a target, you'll have circumstances that will try to pull you away, the ones we have termed as magnets. But whenever those circumstances come, you have the power to recenter yourself, to detour, to channel back your energy, internal control back onto that of which you desire to do, be, and have. So for us to be able to implement self-discipline in our lives, we need one, clarity. You need to know your true north. And you get to know your true north through awareness. Awareness simply means the ability to know, understand, and manage the things that are around you. As simple as that. But traditionally, you and me have been taught that we need to set goals. We have heard it everywhere. Motivational speakers have said it every time that you need to set goals. The second, we have been told, you and me, Gardner, go to school, get a degree, get a job. And we have replicated the same to our kids. Go to school, get a degree, get a job. The third is that you need to have those personal morals and values that you believe in. But all these are good, but they're not excellent when it comes to self-discipline. We need to move from the traditional approach and get to the non-approach. And this aligns us to stop and ask ourselves, to stop and explore why these things matter. Why do you have to set goals? Is the first question you have to ask yourself even before you set a goal. Why do you have to go to school? Is the first question you ask yourself as you start to understand what school is. Why do you have to set personal goals and have morals and values? Why is the question. Because once you start to understand the why, you're giving yourself the reasons not to detour, not to be taken away, not to be distracted from that of which you've set yourself for. Because once you have these, once you've answered your why, it gives you ownership other than pressure. Many of us are acting under pressure, which has led us to detour, which has led us to not even function to the best of our abilities. We know the other day they were telling us that 14 million Ugandans are mentally sick. I wasn't counted. I'm sure you aren't counted. So the number is a little bit misleading. I strongly believe that we are more than 14 million. Why? Some of the things come from lack of self-discipline. We are working under pressure because the things we are doing are not coming from ourselves. We are doing things based on what communities, based on what our families, based on what our societies have imposed us to do. So in the long run, as you're trying to do what you're not supposed to do, you create a conflict within. A conflict within creates the pressure creates diversion creates the mental disorders. So before we go to the traditional way, first ask yourself, why am I doing what I am doing? Your why will determine your how and your where. This is what Simon Sinek put best in his famous book, Start With Why. So you need to learn to teach yourself to get to know what you want to achieve in life. It may be at your career, it may be in your personal life, it may be in your anything. What do you want to achieve? The second, achieving and becoming are two different things. Somebody once said that fake it until you make it. That's not discipline. I tell people, fake it until you become it. Because as you become it, that means you own it, you have ownership of it. So you're no longer working under pressure to please anybody, but you're working for yourself to grow yourself. And finally, I talked about the why. So today I want to urge you to write down your true north statement. For me, my personal statement that drives me every morning is internal. It is to empower minds and transform lives. That's what I live for. That's what I do on a daily. What is your personal statement? For me, this statement is what has given me the discipline I need every day to work in tandem with what I want to do, empower minds and transform lives. What is yours? It's until you write down your true north statement or your personal statement that you're able to be self-disciplined from within, not without. The second, you need to notice the magnets. I told you every time you write your true north statement or your personal statement or your objective or your goal or your vision, truth be told, you'll get vampires. Vampires who want to take you away from that dream, from that vision, from that objective you have set forth. This reminds me of the story of Joseph, the biblical Joseph. You know, he had seen his vision, he had seen what he was supposed to do, he had seen his true north, and even he had stated his true north to his parents and brothers that he was going to become a leader or a king, if you may like. But we see in the story that we had vampires, the brothers, more or less of magnets, came and wanted to distract him from his true north. I can guarantee you every time you find and understand your true north, you'll get vampires, you'll get magnets that are trying to distract you, that are trying to take you away from it. Now, for you to be able to notice, it is the beginning of management. Somebody once said that we are not you are not destroyed by what you know. You are not destroyed by what you know, but by what you think you know, but know not. By what you think you know, but know not. Simply put, you can't control what you do not know. So if you get to understand the obstacles that are going to come your way, as that famous book of Jay Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way, it becomes your first leap towards moving to that goal, to that vision, to that objective you have set forth. And whenever you know the magnets, you know the vampires, you know the obstacles, you know the distractions, you push yourself further to avoid procrastination. Procrastination is one of them. You keep postponing things that you're supposed to do today and pushing them to tomorrow. There are so many ways of managing time, and I don't want to dive deep into them because we don't have a lot of time. But go out and read about the Panadoro method. Go and read about the Ernst Hover method. Go around and read about the other one is called the snowball. All these will help you on how to manage your time. The second is self negative talk. Everybody has these small chants and small mantras running in their brains telling them you cannot do it. Those are small magnets that are trying to distract you. But how do you respond? Learn how to speak to yourself positively. Believe in yourself, but you can't believe in yourself if you do not know yourself. The Greek had it written all over the temples of Delphi. Man, know thyself. Do you know thyself? If I meet you and I ask you, who are you? Would you tell me who you are without telling me your name and your occupation and your qualifications? I don't know. Start from there. The second is that you need to look at your own habits as tools, not as chains. Habits as tools. If a habit stops serving you, then incorporate a new habit. You are free to change. You're not made out of stone. Even stone can be changed. Today we see them cutting them into small pieces, and they're used as tails. They're used as these outside building blocks. You know, so there's nothing that cannot change. The only thing that we are guaranteed of not changing, that is forever and ever, is the world. It will be there with or without you. So be malleable, be like water, be flexible, leave the things that do not work for you and incorporate things that are working for you. So have a weekly compass checking. Ask yourself, did I stay aligned with my true north? Every day, ask yourself. That's why we started this conversation every day at 6 to remind us, to build us, to empower us so that we can be able to understand basic things. Ask yourself, what magnets pulled me away from my goal, from my vision, from my set target? What did I learn about myself? This should be your constant reminder, which we normally call self-reflection. Ask yourself, what did I learn every day? And you have to write down one small habit that you practiced that was aligned with your vision, with your goal, with your objective. That's how you stay aligned to yourself and avoid the obstacles and avoid the magnets and avoid the vampires. The second way the third way of building your self-discipline is to recenter your compass. We very well know every time you are lost, or if you don't know where you are going, you can't know you are lost. But every time you know you are lost and you know where you're going, you have an opportunity to stop and ask yourself, hey, by the way, am I on the right track? You need to align yourself back to the true north, because order can be imposed from outside. But remember, we are saying order comes from within. When you recognize, oh, this is not working for me, then you need to recenter. What then is working for you? You need to have daily small habits that strengthen your focus, that strengthen your internal control. And this starts from pausing. You know, we are in a loop of habits. We are told that an average human being has 56 thoughts in less than a minute. 80 are negative and 96 are repetitive. 96 repetitive thoughts in less than a minute. This simply means that we are products of habits. At times we are living in autopilot. That's why when you channel it back to the Bible, it tells us, awaken thy sleeper. We are sleeping. Living in a loop simply means you're not awake. You can't know what you are doing because you're unconscious of what you're doing. So you need to pause before reacting. And the best way I've managed this is to pause and count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 backwards. In that process, neuroscience tells us you have only less than 5 seconds to short circuit your thought. Now, in those 5 seconds, I'm back to reboot and I'm back to know if you're speaking, maybe you're shouting at me, I've composed myself and I won't respond the way you are shouting. I'll respond calmly because I have stopped and managed my own emotions and my own thoughts. The second, you need to break big tasks into smaller steps. They normally ask us, how do you put an elephant in a fridge? And we normally say you cut it down in small pieces. Your big vision, your big goal, your big objective, are you able to cut it down into small pieces to know which piece you have to do on a daily? Tim Ferriss wrote a book called The 4 Hour Week Book. 4-hour week book. In that book, he simply says, break a year into a week. That means if you've broken a year into a week, the days in the week are your days of the month. Simply put, getting the bigger things, putting them in small pieces. And finally, reward yourself. Don't wait to have results to reward yourself. No, reward yourself, because rewarding yourself gives you energy, gives you the motivation to keep going. It reinforces the act of sticking to the path of which you have put forth for you to take forward. So you need to have those reflection moments in your day. Ask yourself, did I act out of fear? Did I act of insight? Or I acted out of fear? Because every time we are acting, but from which point of view are you acting from? Is it out of fear or out of insight? Ask yourself these questions on a daily. Then ask yourself still, how you kept check on the things that you're supposed to do. Besides, do you have the things you're supposed to do? Then before you go to sleep, ask yourself, tick out the box and get to know what you did and what you did not do, and why you did not do what you're supposed to do. And once you do that, what are you doing? You are recentering your compass. You're trying to understand the things that you did and the things that you did not do and why you did not do them, giving you momentum for you to start on a new slate the next day, knowing what you have to change. So remember that self-discipline is not forcing yourself to be good. No, it's about listening to your own inner compass, inner intuition, inner energy and thoughts. It's not all about being good, because when you think it's being good, then you're going to comply to the externalities. And you are said whenever there is an externality, there is conflict. Then self-discipline simply means you're able to understand when you drift, and the ability for you to learn how to guide it back. Not because someone told you to, but because you see clearly where you are going. So you're not doing it for another person, you're doing it for thyself. You've seen it in your dream, in your vision, in your objective, so clear that the detours and obstacles and challenges that are going to come your way are not going to affect you, just as how Joseph did. It's quite interesting that when he told his brothers, they thought they would kill him. But later they realized, no, let's just put him in a pit hole. They put him there. Little did they know that they were making way for him. Every time obstacles come and you see them, understand them, and you maneuver through them with courage, with determination, with understanding, you are building yourself, you're building your foundation towards that of which you want to achieve. They sold him. Little did they know he was going to work for Potiphar. Potiphar bought him and he worked that, but the wife to Potiphar also accused him. Little did she know that actually she was pushing him towards his destination. He was imprisoned. Little did they know that was the route that was going to make him. So every time detours come, they will come, I can assure you. But it's the compass that you have, the understanding of the challenges and obstacles that are going to come your way, and your ability to read between the lines and keep focused, keep on track to that of which you desire, that then you're able to achieve. So my role and your role is to find your true north, spot the magnet, the distractions, and recenter the compass. And recentering starts with the habits. The simple habits we do on a daily will drive you towards the thing that you intend to do, be, and have in life. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to remember out of this talk that we need to find the compass. What is your dream? What is your vision? What is your goal? What is your objective in life? What is your purpose of life? The second, you need to know the distractions that are going to hinder you from achieving that of which you've set yourself through to. And finally, you need to be resilient, be like water, be malleable, that when circumstances come, you're able to change course but not change the destination. Because the obstacles will come to push you away, but are you able to overcome them? I like the principle of the ants. When you put an obstacle in front of the ants, they will either go over, go below, go in the sides, but they'll always find a way. That is recentering your compass. And my challenge and my call for you today, this morning, is to ask you, are you able to recenter your compass? But you can't recenter your compass if you don't know the obstacles that are coming your way, and you cannot know your obstacles if you don't have the vision and the goal and the objective that you want to achieve in life. So let's go out, be self disciplined, but remember that self discipline starts from within, not without. And when we master that, anything we place our hands and our heads and our focus on, we shall ably receive. This is what I thought maybe I would share with us this morning. I would, if you're out there and you feel there's something you want to add, or you feel there is a question you want to us to take, please feel free. The floor is now open